You know, a funny thing happened to me on the way to the webinar. And when I say on the way, I'm talking like a week ago when one starts to think about what you should really try and get across in the programs. And as I thought about what the growth enhancement strategies should be, it occurred to me that there was nothing new to be said. And the reason why there was nothing new to be said is that everything we need to talk about in terms of growth enhancement strategy in Jamaica is already in the public arena. When you look at what was proposed, for example, in the PSOJ framework last year, and in the PIOJ's new growth inducement strategy that was released last month, and in both the Matalon Committee and the blueprint for tax reform of last year, and in the World Bank Country Economic Memorandum of 2005. And you sort of scan all of those, you realize that all of the fundamental growth enhancement issues are raised in those documents. What strikes you is the remarkable lack of contradiction when you go through, even though they have different focuses sometimes, there's a remarkable lack of contradiction in those documents. So there is a consensus that is already in the public arena about what are the appropriate growth inducement strategies for Jamaica. And all of them have to do with three areas. One is the process by which policy is made, that is to say, economic governance. Under that heading comes the proposal, talked about for a long time, that monetary policy, interest rate changes, for example, should be governed by a monetary policy committee that is constituted by members inside and outside the central bank, and that publishes the minutes of the committee after some time period has passed. These reports speak to the importance of having a fiscal responsibility framework that puts parameters around how budgets are constructed. We talk about having consolidated budgets that include not only the central government, but also the public enterprises and also public sector entities. A second area that is addressed by this collection of documents is getting a balanced budget. It is, again, widely recognized that Jamaica has run fiscal deficits almost every single year since independence, except for a handful. And as long as you continue to run fiscal deficits, you can't bring down your debt. And so a lot of the measures address that issue. It talks about eliminating GCT exemptions and non-standard rates. Pretty much every single one of the documents address that issue. It talks about reforming the tax incentive regime. So it is not arbitrary the way it is now, focusing on an ad hoc collection of sectors, and that foregoes loads of revenue. And the third area that is addressed by all of these documents is removing the obstacles to production and commerce. For example, they all speak about tax reform to simplify Jamaica's tax code, which is stunning in its complexity and difficult, therefore, to navigate if you are trying to run a business and produce and create wealth. A lot of them talk about lowering the corporate income tax rate and about building, enhancing, and maintaining the economic infrastructure. It is not only an embarrassment, but a hidden cost of doing business that all the roads you drive on, well, not all of them, but many of them, are potholed and cratered to a degree that looks like it is post-war. So, this information is out there. It is already in the public arena. But when you read the newspaper and you listen to the budget debates and the budget presentations, what is it that you actually see government? Government is not doing any of these things. What you see government doing instead is the Ministry of Commerce wants to build a IT park out in Caymanas. This is nowhere in any of these proposals. In yesterday's paper, the Ministry of Tourism, once again, wants to subsidize airlift into Jamaica. Why we are subsidizing the vacations of rich foreigners, which is on no economic foundation that I'm aware of, is a mystery to me. But that is what is being proposed. That is what is going to be done once again. And that is nowhere in these proposals. The Ministry of Finance, for a time, and the Prime Minister's office, last year, proposed removing the customs user fee that manufacturers pay for importation of raw materials. Again, nowhere in the documentation and the existing proposals on growth enhancement strategies. And of course, the Minister of Agriculture tells us that we should eat what we grow and grow what we eat. Nowhere in the proposals. So it seems to me that we already have a collection of growth enhancement strategies from different sources, all of which have a consensus, but very little of which is being implemented. And when we look at what is being implemented, we find it nowhere in the growth enhancement strategies. That, it seems to me, is the crux of the problem. In thinking about growth enhancement strategies, what comes across is that the problem is not an absence of knowledge about the strategies. It is, why is it the strategies are already in the public debate, already in the public arena, but somehow there's this disconnection between that consensus and what is actually done. And perhaps that actually should be the subject of the next Scotia investment seminar.
Thank you, Damien.